Okay, welcome to today's podcast. As usual, I've come in with no topic up my sleeve. However, I did notice doing last week's podcast that for some reason the sound quality was so bad was that my computer actually picked up the microphone off my phone that was sitting on the bench, which is absolutely so weird. It makes no sense, but then it makes total sense, right? Which I guess can really sort of lead into where I'm at and sort of where my current thought process is. If you listen to any of my podcasts, you know that I am someone who talks all over the place in circles and flips and flops from this idea to that idea and back again. I think last week was all about coming full circle and coming back into a space where there's nothing really new that can sort of come into my field now. There's nothing new that can really shock me anymore. I'm still continuing with focusing a lot on more of the creative parts of myself with the paintings and drawings and sort of creating some digital art and things like that, which is actually also really relaxing because I find that when you're engaged in doing those creative type exercises, it takes your mind away from the mundane. It takes your mind away from the everyday type thoughts that, you might have. Of course, I don't. My brain's pretty wild and has its own everyday thoughts, but it's just nice to sort of just take a break from that. And, because when you're drawing, you're just allowing that essence of who you are to really come through. And, you'll start painting or drawing and you'll look at the clock and go, oh my goodness, so much time has passed, but it was also, it felt like effortless. It's just a really good space to be in, and I'm really enjoying it and really trying to get into the flow of just allowing myself to do the things that feel natural in every moment, which led me to one of the most obvious realizations for me is that I've been someone who has gone through so many different ideas, different creations, different sort of business plans, different sort of ideas or things that I wanted to be interested in or things that I wanted to really involve myself in. And I did, give myself some sort of grief about that as someone who isn't very good at focusing on doing one thing or isn't staying aligned with one path or following one goal and, making all these steps towards whatever it is that I'm trying to get to. But I have now realized that that's just not who I am. So I am really embracing the uniqueness of my flippy floppy mind. Very technical term there, flippy floppy. But it is where I just really allow now for those thoughts to be random, to jump around with different ideas and thoughts, because honestly, in my mind, I believe that if I'm trying to stifle that, I'm stifling my creativity. Yes, there are still essences of some of the things that I want to achieve and being able to follow the next steps in order to reach those goals. But I don't believe it has to be that concrete, here's point A, here's point B, let's follow all these steps and you'll get there eventually. I do still believe that we need to allow that the natural intuition to flow in and give us those next steps in whatever manner they appear in. And for me, it is a matter of jumping from one thing to another. I cannot just sit down and say, okay, I'm going to create this thing. In order for me to do that, I need to do this, and this, and then we're there. I may still have a loose plan or a loose idea. Well, I'm here and I want to be here. How can we get there? But I don't put any onus on the steps or the way that we get to the outcome, or even sort of solidify what the outcome may be, because like anything that we're trying to manifest or anything that we're trying to achieve, it's not always that actual thing that we're trying to manifest or achieve. It's the way that we feel about that thing, that feeling we have when we've achieved it or we've received it or we've reached that step that we really wanted to get to. It's not always about the thing that we think it is in the beginning. So we have to allow some sort of space for whatever it is that we think that we want in this moment right now. Allow it to sort of grow into what is best for us, under the same sort of umbrella of the thing that we're trying to manifest, or of the feeling that we really want to try and embody or try to enjoy. So for me, that is having many different arms doing many different things, using the different skill sets that I have and the different things that I do enjoy doing, because I do enjoy creating. I do enjoy sort of letting go and being able to really tune into that creative version of who I am. However, I am also that person who does like that bit of logic, who does like that, okay, let's create a plan. let's write some steps down. And even if, I'm led to write some steps down towards something, it definitely does not mean that is the only way that whatever it is going to happen, and I need to follow those steps. And if I jump a step or miss a step, it's not going to work. It's not like that at all. It's just allows both sides of my brain to really sort of come together and work together with the creativity and with the logical side, but also allowing that unexplainable sort of guidance from above or around, or however you want to look at it, to come in and really help us get to whatever it is we're trying to get to. Because part of me going around the circle that I spoke of last week is that I can see the different ideas and end games and ways to do things. I can see it in so many different ways, and I thought that I really had to choose, but I know that I don't. And whilst it can sort of seem like that's really difficult, because if you're trying to, bring something into fruition, how do you do that if you don't believe in something? But you're still allowing your intuition to come through whilst allowing your creativity to shine and still using that logic. So it's a bit of a balancing game that I'm working through at the moment, but I'm really trying to make the non-logical logical, and the logical non-logical, and the creativity to be part of that whole process, and just sort of really stepping into the allowance where you are watching and noticing and observing everything whilst being all up in it type thing. And it's funny, it's like that whole duality that they talk about, saying that, well, the whole point of the game is to get to that non-duality state of not giving anything meaning or purpose, or a vibrational sort of good or bad type feeling, and just sort of allowing it to be and being able to witness it. I get that, but at the same time, there is sides, whether we give them a positive or negative sort of tone to them. There are sides. Like for me, looking at the creativity and the logical side, if you looked at that, well, this is operating from this side of your brain and this is operating from that side of your brain, that is a duality. But In the way that we're taught to have that non-duality where we just allow it, both still exist. And I know I've spoken about this before, about the duality of non-duality itself is still being able to recognize that there are different sides to everything, but being able to witness and observe them without putting a left or right or positive or negative sort of label on them, which is really interesting to do because, you know, if I did that, it'd be a little more difficult to talk about creativity and logic if we weren't talking about them in opposing type aspects of how I operate. Not that one is good and one is bad, but they are different and they do operate from different sides of the brain. But looking at it from a non-dualistic perspective would be to just allow the activities of what each sort of area brings, but then not put them into those labels of being logic and creativity. So in a roundabout, horribly described type way, that's what I'm trying to do, is where instead of me sitting here thinking, oh my goodness, I'm getting too logical, I'm writing all these steps down, versus, oh, look at me, I'm drawing so freely, this is me being so creative. Instead, I am just moving through those activities that pop into my mind and just allowing them to be seen and be experienced for however long they need to be. So for me, that would be, and this is what happens to me a lot, if I get the idea, okay, I want to do this, I want to achieve this, how am I going to do this? And if I start writing down steps, I can start doing that, writing it down, start working out how I'm going to do it, start planning things out. But then, you know, halfway through or after a couple of hours, I'm like, ugh, this is so boring. And then it will be, no, I need to go over here and now do, let's say, in little air quotes here, something creative, and I'll go do something else. So in the way of not sort of giving them that label of this is the logical side and this is the creativity side, I'm just allowing them to flow through as the different intuitive hits that I need to sort of follow in that moment, because I know loosely what it is that I want to achieve. And it's just being a witness, being in that allowance state, that awareness state, to follow those ideas and that information that comes through in the moment, and to also know when you've sort of what's the word, where you've, you know, you don't want to keep excuse me, if you were writing down steps and you were trying to look at a process or a plan for something you wanted to achieve, and you kept writing and writing and writing. Like at the beginning it was really good, and then, you know, as you sort of got down, you're like, oh well, this is just crap, stop. Because we know you can go too far. It's same as if, you know, you were dieting too hard, or if you were eating too much or not enough, or, you know, if you went to the gym and you kept going when you were fatigued or something, or, you know, there's so many ways where we go past that point of where that action step or whatever it is that we were doing is moving us towards that goal that we have. So we need to start playing with those activities that we're doing, so that we can really sort of tune in to know when it is time for us to stop and follow that next intuitive hit. However, I will say too, there is a balance between, and this is something that I am still working out, is where, is this an intuitive hit? Is this my higher self, whatever you want to call it, coming in and telling me to stop? Or is there some aspect of myself that is now trying to stop me from achieving whatever it is I'm trying to achieve? Because that will happen as well. There will be part of you, your that sabotaging part of self, that ego self that doesn't want you to do something different, that whole exit strategy effect where you will start hearing or feeling like, no, maybe this isn't such a good idea. Maybe we could try this later on. Maybe we should just go do this instead. This feels more safe. So you can hear that voice as well when you are following those hits and doing those next steps. And then you will hear that voice telling you not to do it anymore. And there's a fine line between that. And I've actually gone through and had a look at all the things I created over the last 2 years. There's a bit. You could look at that on the outside. People could look at that and say, oh my God, like, do you ever finish anything? Like, you didn't bring any of those things really as far as, you could have really tried to. And I totally agree with that. I think there is a level of momentum that we need to build up when we are working towards different things. And we need to really try and work out the difference between that voice inside our head that's telling us to stop because it doesn't want us to succeed versus that voice inside our head that is telling us that, okay, that's enough of that for now. Let's go do something else. So that's what I am working on at the moment. That's what I'm really locking myself, not locking, that's the wrong word. That's what I'm really allowing myself to experience in each moment is, okay, we've set this goal. Let's see what comes through. Oh, I'm going to create this. Oh, I'm going to do that. Then I know one of the little tricks that I have found is if I get the hit to do something and it takes me ages, like just say you want to create a video or you want to write something and you had the hit to start doing it and you're all in flow and then a few hours go past and you go, oh my God, this should not be taking this long. This should have only taken it, this amount of time. Why is it taking so long? I have noticed that there can be some times where you're like, no, I'm going to keep going till this is finished. And I think for some more of the creative type aspects, if you're spending, more time than you would normally would on doing whatever it is you were trying to do, then, maybe stop it in the moment and go do something else for a while and then come back to it. If it's something that is more, doesn't require creativity and is just more of an actual process, like, doing all the back end type things that we need to do, the stuff that's pretty easy to set up. It doesn't require a level of creativity. I give myself goal points, so I make sure that I finish to certain stages. So if there's some of that sort of more organizational type stuff that I am being guided towards doing, I will say, okay, I am creating this and I'm doing this and I'm going to finish when I get to this point. So, maybe when I've gotten up to this step or when I've done 10 of these or whatever it is that I'm doing, I do give myself these little goals when they are more of that non-creative, personal type tasks. And I know I'm putting the logical and the creativity as separate things, but some of that logical steps that we have to do, and to me it's like building that foundation, towards something. Like if you were building a house, you wouldn't just use your intuition and say, oh no, yeah, we're not going to build that foundation strong. That'll do. We'll just put, I don't know how you build a foundation, but we'll put less water and make that concrete like sort of hard. You're not going to cut the corners on those sort of pieces. There are some pieces that, may need to be done in a certain way. But the other side, the things that are uniquely yours, like if, for instance, if you were creating a painting, like if you were prepping a board or whatever, like there are a few different ways you can do it, but you're not going to half do it and go, oh, that'll do because that's just my creativity. Oh, well, you could, I don't know. It depends on your style. But, normally that part is something that's quite easy, and, you could give yourself that goal that once this is fully done, then I can move on to actually creating whatever I'm creating. And then when you are doing the more unique part, which is your actual design, then that is the part that you would know needs to be when you are in that, that highest creativity type vibrational frequency of who you are. So I'm really playing with these fields and really just allowing things to come through as they come through, and not give them judgments, not give them meaning, not give them goals and say this has to be done by this or this has to be done by that. It's really kind of loose, really kind of going with the flow. I'm really just allowing, being aware, following my own creativity, my own logic, whatever words you want to use, but I'm not labeling them. It's just so I can sort of describe them to you. And even along the path of, I don't know, just say you were actually creating a painting and you had to create a painting for someone, but, you got this idea, why don't you go look up, I don't know, something about Egyptian history. And then you find a book and you start reading it and you're like, well, this ain't helping me do my painting. But it's those things that they actually help us get us to our next step, even if they don't really make sense. And I'm really sort of playing with this and allowing this and seeing how it works, because it's that building up of momentum that I didn't do with any of those things that I tried to create before. So some of the projects and businesses that I'm working on at the moment, I've actually, created a contract for myself that I am going to stick with them for a certain period of time, so that even though I'm still allowing whatever naturally to come through, I still have that little piece of giving me that little push to go that little bit further than I normally would, because I think I may have let those voices telling me to stop when I was sort of thinking it was intuition, but knowing that it actually wasn't. It was, some sort of sabotage or exit strategy or ego trying to keep me safe and keep me in the same spot. So this is why I'm trying it just a little bit differently, but still being in that allowance state. And I know this probably sounds a little bit confusing and all over the place, but yes, this is who I am. And I've even created a membership. I haven't announced it yet, but it is literally going to be exactly how my mind works, because I cannot talk to people in the way that other people do with a process and with a plan and with scheduled times and dates and giving you things that you will receive and then making sure that we adhere to them. I found that a little bit too difficult for me, and yes, that could be part of me sabotaging myself again, but I'm trying something different where I'm just going to fully allow people to get a glimpse into my mind, because I have done so much learning and coming around full circle and now sort of diving into things more for a pure entertainment purpose, because I'm really interested in it, instead of before where I was trying to look at it to be my next thing. It's really interesting to see how things cross over, how things line up with each other, how science matches, something that makes no sense over in the spiritual world, and, how parts of the body match with, something weird that I wrote, about 6 months ago. And it's just watching those bits come together and a lot of my weird random thoughts and ideas are also going to come through. So it's going to be in the form of, actually, I don't even know. It's just going to be in an ana form, where it could be, some deep training on some of the tools that I'm using now, or new ones that I've learned about, or old ones that I've revisited, or new awarenesses on some of the things that I had found out about a few years ago, and have now sort of reapplying in a new sort of more knowledged sense. Plus, who knows? Because I do feel like that there is information that can help people, not just to say, hey, look, I've got this, guys, this is really going to help you. It's more of, oh, what about this idea? Bump this into your field. How does that feel? Or, saying some words that make you go and, learn something else, or even just to bounce ideas off someone else, because it's hard sometimes for me when I am thinking about so many things at the same time and finding correlations and having these ideas. It is really a nice space to be in, to be able to bump it up into people who are sort of, in that space as well with you. Not so much of they believe everything that I do, but just to get, a different perspective, because I love hearing other people's opinions and ideas and thoughts, because it just fascinates me of the different things that we can really sort of believe and understand and envelop within ourselves. It just fascinates me so much, and that's what my membership will be about. And I'll probably start advertising it soon. It's going to be super, 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 super cheap. Like, I'm talking single figure cheap. And yeah, it's going to be something, very my style. Different, but with no rules. And it is going to be called Disruptive Frequency, because that is exactly what it is. It's just me trying to do everything different and really testing out so many things along the lines of how we manifest, how our vibrational frequency operates with the consciousness of our creation, and how much power we do have that we receive, that we can give out to others, and how much control we have over our life. It's a really interesting journey. But that's all for today's little chat. I hope that I will be in your ears again soon.